Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to your favorite podcast. Welcome back to the only good podcast left. Our guest today is a master poster service worker, and you can find her 7 days a week on Twitter, serving up some real fire tweets. And if you're a liberal, you might find her under your skin. Please welcome Suki's mom to the show. Finally. I can't believe you're finally here.
I know it's you know, the gods of the universe did not want this to happen, but we finally made it happen. Yeah,
it's like 3 months in the making.
Literally, I felt very bad about that. You know, everything. Just the end of the summer was a rough time for me.
Mm-hmm,
you know, I'm the world's ontological victim, actually.
Yeah, well, it's like the end of the summer, and you're like, there's so much I have to do.
Yeah,
I haven't been to the beach yet.
Oh, did you go to the beach?
Yeah, a few times.
Okay,
I went to the Jersey Shore.
Ooh.
Have you been?
I have, and I like it. I think that it gets like unfairly judged because of the television show, but it actually is quite beautiful.
It's beautiful, but it's also like there's part of me that walks around and I go, this is trash. I don't belong here.
Are you like
born
and raised in New York?
I'm from Jersey originally.
Oh, okay.
So we used to go down there for vacation. So me and my wife like it 'cause it's familiar and it's like, you know, we know.
Yeah.
We know the drill, so to speak.
There's honestly not a ton of great coastline in the Northeast, so I'm not, you know, when I was in Long Island, like the coastline there's not great, so I can't be a Jersey Shore hater.
Okay.
I would be coming from like a unfair place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Brighton Beach is nice. I don't know if you've been.
No.
Okay, but that's easy to get to because it's right off the D train.
Okay.
So you can take a nice, quick little day trip.
I think I took
down
a
to Brighton
train
Beach.
once that was supposed to go there, but it like they changed service to end at 8 p.m. or something, so we didn't end up going.
Okay.
I don't know if that was like some post-COVID type of, or not post-COVID, nobody kill me, but like, you know, since COVID began type of thing.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I'm happy you're here because we've all been fans of you. So, because this was a long time coming, you being on the show, and then, you know, guys in our Patreon would be like, when is Suki's mom coming on the show? And they're like, I want to see a girl. I haven't seen a girl.
Do you typically not have girl guests? Wow.
No, we do. We have a
podcast.
We're not a misogyny. I mean, Sean's not here today. We're not a misogyny podcast.
I'd be okay with it, honestly. You know.
Yeah.
And maybe women deserve a little misogyny.
Yeah, there's like a healthy balance of it. You need a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we've all been fans of you for a while. We've seen your work on Twitter. We've seen the fights. We've seen the beefs, you know? I guess he wants you to get a little closer to the microphone.
I'm literally so short.
I really like your style, you know?
Thank you.
Your personal style. You really you say exactly what you want to say.
Yeah, I try not to mince my words. I think that, and that lands me in hot water a lot, but I like to speak from the heart. I think that that's, you know, I learned that from my mother, I guess, but I do tend to like to speak like from how I feel. This someone's going to quote this and be like, and then find some small part of a tweet that I've said and be like, see, she means everything she says.
When you were like 15.
Yeah, exactly. 14 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do you ever wish that because sometimes it's good to, I guess, meet people where they are, right?
I think that the way, because I feel like I know what you're going to say, is do you wish, I think that in real life, it's very different than on Twitter. I think that people on Twitter, at least in the sphere of Twitter that like I tend to be in, they have like developed a very strong commitment to their particular political principles, and they're like very unlikely, in my opinion, to be swayed in an argument or anything like that, which is why I kind of lack respect. I mean, these are people who are like more informed, I think, than your average apolitical worker. So when I'm discussing things, like believe it or not, I have friends in real life. And not all of them are like avowed communists. I know. Can you believe that? We get offline. You should see my screen time. No, take that off.
My wife and son are my best friends.
Yeah, my cats.
I always tell them, yeah. I go, you guys are my best friends.
My little communist militants. I like to refer to my cats as my Hamas militants.
Oh, okay.
Is that allowed in the
yeah. We're actually probably the only pro age group podcast on all of YouTube.
Hell yeah. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good age groups. We'll get into that eventually.
Sure, yeah. Most of them start
Most
with
of them start with
H.
H for whatever reason. It's a good letter.
I have this joke about how my son wasn't circumcised, but
Okay.
I have this new part of it where I say like, yeah, he's not circumcised because we're not pledging loyalty to Israel, and then I say his penis has a little green bandana on it at all times.
That's awesome. Hey, I love it.
Yeah.
That's also a Latino thing. So like he's like Latino by osmosis, maybe by yeah.
It's Latino to not circumcised?
Yeah, I think
Interesting.
so. Everyone I've ever been with that's been Latino has not been circumcised, and I've actually looked at the data, and it shows that there's like low amounts of circumcision in that area.
Oh,
so you know that like
I thought Catholics are like always they don't do it.
Yes, but I guess for some reason it's just not. I've seen like a world map of it, and it's like low amounts. I'm looking constantly at world maps.
Yeah, did you get that at like Target or something?
It's hung up on my wall.
Where did you buy the map? It's like
Target Home Goods.
It's at like Marshalls.
Yeah, it was on sale.
It's at TJ Maxx because it was like a closeout. Yeah, they couldn't sell it.
How could I not buy that? It was 90% off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and 100% of that was not off.
Yeah, actually, it was like 8% off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fun. Oh, that sounds like a good middle ground. You know.
Yeah, because I imagine that's what they take off.
Kind of like 8% off.
I have no idea. I know so little about circumcision, and I don't want to learn anything about it.
Yeah, probably not something that I ever endeavor to go into too much. But I agree with your decision. I will not be circumcising my child.
Mm-hmm.
Write that down. Everyone keep that.
Yeah, whether it's a boy or a girl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if it's a girl. Because like we said, women deserve a little misogyny.
Okay.
So that'll be like the new. That's how we're combating that.
Sure.
You get it?
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, are you ever like has that ever caused you any issues or anything, or with friends or family or anything like that?
So yeah, so as we were saying, like in real life, I don't have like avowed communist friends or friends who are like spending their free time reading Lenin or reading Marx or reading Mao or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they like know I'm a communist. It's not something that I like hide from my friend group at all. And for the most part, when we talk about it, and not even for the most part, honestly, I being completely honest, it's never been a problem, and they largely agree with it. They just like aren't spending their days like reading that kind of stuff or fully understanding it. Sure. But it's never been a situation. I've only ever had the problem with ex like partners of mine where it becomes like, this like you're more intimately involved with these people, you're with them every single day, like, but with my friends and my family, no. My family are very like, I hate the term leftist and whatever, but they're very like left leaning or whatever, left wing leaning. Mm-hmm. They have those kind of sympathies, and my parents are very amenable to the idea that, my dad's Puerto Rican, so he knows the United States government about a lot of shit. Mm-hmm. So they have never, they're very open to listening to that kind of stuff. So I've never had that problem. And I'm not abrasive when I talk to the people in my real life about it. I tend to...
I know. I had no idea what you were going to be like before I met you.
Yeah.
I was like, what if she yells at me?
Yeah, I tend to get really scary.
Because I see you go, kind of go after people a little bit. I think you went after one of my, a friend of mine on Twitter. Yeah.
Who?
It was this guy Clay, who's a comedian.
Okay.
And you were like, why are you a man using the term bitch? And then
probably.
And he said, I'm a misogynist. And then you guys got into it.
Really?
I was kind of watching like what's going to happen, because I was like, oh, that might be something that I would tweet when I was, you know what I mean?
Oh,
because we all like to make fun. We're coming back to misogyny. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all like to sort of make those jokes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't. I was like, I would not want to be in that position.
Yeah. No, I think that. Well, I don't remember exactly, but I do know that I've said that before. So, it depends. It depends on the day, the mood, the vibes. I think that, and I mean, you have a pretty decent following on Twitter, right?
I guess, yeah.
You're a big guy.
I'm so proud of it.
It's my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Please write that on the tombstone. But, people don't understand, and my poor, like, big account, it's so hard. You're constantly getting inundated by like a zillion people a day. Mm-hmm. And it sucks when you're that zillion and 1th person that you say something that irritates me, and I'm just like laying it down on you, because I've like blocked like 15 people and like I've ignored whatever, and then it's just like that last, so sometimes it's a bit unfairly doled out in that sense where it's like this person is getting the heat of 1,000 suns from like a million other people who piss me off that day, who are like being irritating on Twitter.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily personal. It's also like, I like to say like nothing is transhistorical or universal, and that my hate for someone. I've had people, it's funny, when I started out on Twitter, I feel like few people know now, but like I was very liberal, and like I was very like anti-Stalin, and like very like
you're like Harry. You're like, I'm a Slytherin.
Yeah, exactly.
Or what Harry Potter house are you?
Oh gosh, what's the least transphobic Harry Potter house? Can't be Gryffindor, because like that was
no, it's not Gryffindor. No. It's probably Hufflepuff or Slytherin.
I would say Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
I agree with that analysis a lot. Actually, I think that she tried to like make them look like the losers, which in my head, like because of what we know about J.K. Rowling now, she would think like non-transphobic people are losers. So I'd be Hufflepuff.
See, I feel like
The H word again.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's a theme here going.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. No, I feel like being a Slytherin is like the last stop to being trans. Because you're like, I'm a Slytherin, but then you're like, oh no, I need to be a woman.
Is that what? Yeah, I can see that.
Because Slytherin's like they're like the dark evil house.
And in her brain, that's how it went.
Yeah.
I read all the Harry Potter books growing up. I don't remember though. Did she really? It was Cho Chan. That was the name of the one.
Cho Chang.
Yeah. So terrible. I saw someone post that on Twitter the other day, and I remember it like came back into my. When something happens like that.
That's like she's like Harry's girlfriend, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
No, because Harry becomes libertarian.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, I need an Asian girlfriend.
Right. Exactly. White man, Asian girlfriend. Did he? No, he doesn't end up.
Harry changes his Tinder settings to.
But he eventually
to Asians only.
Is that an option on Tinder?
I'm sure it is. Yeah. Is it, Johnny? You can set your dating profiles by race.
I don't know.
You're probably not allowed to.
I don't think he's allowed.
When
to
Trump comes back, you can change your Tinder settings.
One more month, baby.
By race. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Before we get into that, I want to ask you about communism a little bit.
Oh, let's hear it.
All right, because you're a communist.
Allegedly.
I don't know much about communism. I probably am a little bit. I do remember I was watching this speech from Kwame Ture a while back, and he said that everybody hates communism, but nobody knows anything about it. He's like, so if communism is your enemy, it's like if snakes are your enemy, then don't you want to know about snakes?
Right.
But people don't know anything about it.
So earlier when I said like I started on Twitter as like a liberal, it's funny because you're talking about this is all tying together. Like me, like dunking on people or being whatever mean to people. People were really mean to me because I was
when you were liberal.
Yes, like I would get constantly quote tweeted or replied to by people who were infinitely better read than me at that time.
Yeah,
who'd be like, "You're a fucking moron," and like I still had a bigger Twitter presence. I probably had like 10 to 20,000 followers at that time. And
God, you're reminding me of a really embarrassing tweet that I sent out right after Trump got elected.
Oh, what did you say?
It was just about it was just comparing Trump. I think I compared Trump to Darth Vader or something.
That's tight. That's fucking.
It was really embarrassing.
It
wasn't even that long ago. I was probably like 30 years old.
I was like,
but I said, oh my God, I just can't believe I fucking posted this.
Oh yeah.
But I guess we all have to go through it.
We went through that little point. I like psychosis, collective liberal psychosis.
Yeah.
And we grow up right in a culture and in a society that's like extremely anti-communist and very like it's funny because people think there's like such this vast gulf of difference between liberals.
Because culture, they don't give you that much.
No.
There's only like 4 things to watch on TV.
Right. And they're all exactly. They're like Boy Meets World, that episode where they're like, if you're a communist, you get a C. Did you ever see that episode?
No.
Thing? It was like Girl Meets World or whatever on Disney Channel, and they're like, they do a project, and the people who are the communist bloc, they got an A, but since they have to split it 3 ways, it's a C, because that's how communism works. Okay. So
Mr. Feeney's like, Corey, are you transgender? Corey, you're not thinking about cutting your penis off, are you? Mr. Matthews, why are you experimenting with gender science?
Love it. Disney Channel transing our children and anti-communizing.
Yeah.
Anti-communizing?
What's that?
Them?
Oh, I guess if they redid Boy Meets World. Because that guy who plays Mr. Feeney's still alive.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's like 97 or something.
You just drag him out like Jimmy Carter.
A friend of mine waited on him in the city, and he said he's a huge piece of shit.
I
So,
always find that so interesting. Quick sidebar, because
Yeah.
I've been in the service industry. Everyone knows that.
we got to get into that.
And it's so interesting how so many people in New York City, like even mutuals I have on Twitter, are constantly serving famous people.
Yeah.
And I have served famous people.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
They really cared and totally remember who I am.
Okay.
It was awesome.
Who was the most famous person that you ever?
I actually don't know his name, but he owns the Celtics.
Oh, okay.
That's all I know about him.
Is he like a leprechaun?
Yeah.
Is he
He's like a little short ginger man.
Yeah.
He came in, he had a pot of gold. It was bizarre. That's how he paid for his bill.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he didn't pay for his bill.
He's like, what if I took you out of this place? He's like,
To the end of the
he's
rainbow.
like, what if I took you to the end of the rainbow?
It was a really dark place. That was a really dark place.
Yeah, but that's good. No, but I like that. So, because in Boy Meets World, in this time, Mr. Feeney would be trying to get Corey to be trans.
Yes.
He'd be like, Corey, why don't we cut it off right now? Mr. Matthews, come into my office.
That's the agenda they're trying to put
Yeah.
forward. That
They're like-
Kamala, Communist Harris, is trying to put forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Kamala's going to make Mr. Feeney give your kids hormones and cut their cocks off.
That's the agenda, and I will be voting for that.
Yeah.
So we're
Oh, me too. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so communism. So what do you? Because sometimes I go back and forth like so much, because I'm like, yeah, I like people. I want everybody to be comfortable and everything, but then sometimes like I need to get rich.
No.
I need to be the best. I need to win. Sometimes it feels good to win.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you want to be the best at what you do.
I think that there's this misconception about communism and communists, and it comes from people who I think have good intentions, that want to see a more equal world, that communism is about like distribution and about like distributing things equally. But that's not what communism is, and that's why people don't. I think that's like a fault of not understanding like the USSR or Mao's China or like all these other socialist projects, historical socialist project. It's not about that. It's about essentially like making production as efficient as possible and like organizing society in such a way so that we are like mechanizing production to a particular point that it's like efficient. It's not about distribution.
Right.
People think, and that's why people think like places like Denmark or Norway or whatever, those social democratic Nordic countries are like communist or socialist or have socialist policy, as if socialism is like about policy and not a transformation of the mode of production.
Right.
So I think when I have funny friends who are like better read communists than myself, who are always like, yeah, I'm trying to get money. Like it's not like and obviously like it's a stateless, moneyless, classless society, but like that would be like over a long period of time that I am not going to live unto. So
Well, just one example. I mean, it's really annoying. You walk by a grocery store late at night and they're just throwing out like a dumpster full of cold cuts.
Right.
And you go, what the hell is this about?
And it's a complete inefficiency of like the way we like structure production.
And you go, guys, I got a wheelbarrow right here.
Like put it in there, but they won't.
Yeah.
Because it's more like
and they're like, I want to give it to you, but I can't. I can't, or I'll lose my job.
Yeah, which is so like horrific, and it is a terrible way to. It's a wasteful. It's like anti-environmental. It's anti-human. Like it's just that's the problem. It's not like every single person should make the same and live the same and this and that. It's like we should organize production so that we're being more efficient, and that so that we can maximize our potential as human beings. That's what I care about. I don't care that like every single person has to have the same this or that, and I think that's a misconception a lot of the time about like communism and communists, that like it's about everyone being equal when it's not. It's about not being wasteful and like and not putting the spoils of the world in one little area with a couple 100 million people when the rest of the world has to go fuck themselves no matter no matter what they do. Because there's very little, and I was talking about this today on Twitter, like there's very little, I hate the idea that people think that like workers in the Imperial Corps here in the United States have the same like relationship to the global social hierarchy as a worker in fucking, I don't know, in some country in Latin America or some country in Africa or some country in South Asia. Like you can't look at me with a straight face and tell me someone who's getting paid $2 a day is the same like proletarian as you, and you work at a fucking office and you make hundreds of $100,000 a year
Mm-hmm.
and you go to Starbucks every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you might also be like working class, but there's increasingly we see that split along like imperial lines where it's like working class in the United States increasingly has restructured as a global bourgeoisie. People are going to kill me for saying that. And I don't mean that like everyone within the domestic United States is at the same level as fucking Jeff Bezos. But what I mean is that like you're a worker in the core, you live in the imperial core. You benefit from the spoils of imperialism.
People don't like to hear that.
No, they don't like to hear that because they like to think that. I think that a lot of American culture, like we were talking about before, is about like nowadays like positioning yourself as like at least in ostensibly progressive social circles, right? As like the most oppressed. Like you are, you have to put. I hate that.
You're the most oppressed, like you're a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, you are the Hufflepuff. You put it in your Twitter bio.
Yeah.
You're like, I am Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
I, have sensitivity to temperatures below 73 degrees. If I cannot eat Kellogg's Frosted Flakes every day, like I will have and that you are the most oppressed person in the world. And like actually everyone else just doesn't get it. And
I just bristled a little bit because I thought about those people being mad at you.
Oh, they love to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really incredible time. It's really and then I love
But it's also really fun telling people that they're not oppressed.
Yeah, and they lose their mind because it's part of it becomes part and parcel of like their identity.
Their identity, yeah.
Right. And it's not to say that there are not like genuine grievances that people can have or genuine like axes of oppression you can experience. But it's this like I like to think of myself, this is gonna sound corny, like a global citizen. And like where is my position in the global social hierarchy? Way fucking higher than most people. Way fucking higher than most people. And like I don't ever and I come from I wasn't not born there to be fair, but like I am a Puerto Rican in exile. Like we are displaced from our home. My family had homes. So much of my family lived in Puerto Rico, and like ever since the last 20 or so years we've slowly been more displaced. And but that's still like I've experienced that, my family experiences that, but I'm still like not remotely like the most oppressed person because I'm a citizen of the United States and I have a blue passport. At the end of the day, I can go wherever I want in the world pretty much. Just wave my blue passport. And and my partner, I've talked about a million times on Twitter, is undocumented. Even that is like a totally different experience than like someone who's a citizen of the United States, and people don't even conceptualize that. Like he's stuck here. Yeah. There's and that's someone who still benefits from the spoils of imperialism within the core, even though he's disadvantaged to a particular degree. Because there's a lot of people who fucking literally will never get to leave their little village in wherever, because they have been like completely swallowed whole by like the global imperialist machine. They just and they're just going to live a life of misery so that, me and you can fucking,
Can podcast.
Yeah, can podcast and like eat like fucking hamburgers and shit.
Yeah.
And the new Big Chicken Mac or whatever the hell.
Yeah. It's crazy, but it's like you have to do so much work to care about those people. And you're like, I know I should, but like nobody's making you or nobody's scolding you.
Right.
No, and then you hear those statistics like so many people live like when you hear people go like so many people live on less than $1 a day, you go like, all right, but I bet stuff is cheaper than that. You know what I mean? I bet dinner costs $0.10. Like,
yeah, right, and that makes it totally okay. I think that we're seeing as the contradictions sharpen in the United States more and more. They love to call it like netizens or like what do they call them? Not netizens. What's the word? Nomads, digital nomads, and they're moving to Costa Rica and and like, your dollar can go so much further in Mexico City and blah blah blah. And like, but it's like totally under that conversation is just like, oh yeah, but fuck the people that live there. Like, let's they might live like you said. Dinner's a dime in Thailand. So why don't you move to Thailand as an American citizen because you're going to make an American salary. So you're going to be living fucking large in Thailand. You might live like shit over here, but over there you'd live really well. And then that ruins life for those people. And that's what, so Americans lack that like, I don't know. They're very like.
Yeah, but no one's making you think about it or nobody. Yeah.
It's easy. They're like very much in the background. Yeah. And I think that's how a lot of American citizens operate. And then I get the common refrain, if that's the correct word, that's like, well, what am I supposed to do about that? And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just like give a shit, like a little bit of a shit, like maybe like care that, your tax dollars go to like fucking bombing babies in the Middle East, or care a little bit that like the fact that you can get a banana for 19 cents at any part of the day is for a reason.
Yeah.
Because we did genocide in Latin America, because the United Fruit Company, did a silent Holocaust.
Isn't it crazy? You go to a grocery store and bananas are like 50 cents a pound. And it feels like such a fuck you to those people.
And it absolutely is. And like that is like a perfect illustration of like the way that imperialism works, where like we can literally have access, like we have access in the
Because they
United
give you some
States.
Scraps, I guess, right?
But yeah, like
give your 50-cent bananas.
Exactly. We get the 50-cent bananas. We get to enjoy the spoils of imperialism, and have access to cheap consumer goods.
Mm-hmm.
And like life might kind of suck, and housing is really expensive and all of that. But like you can drown your sorrows in like little fucking vape pens that little kids in the Congo are like forced at gunpoint to go and, mine for, or whatever, the cobalt, the colt or whatever, coltan to mine for or whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't got to think about that, because you can just drown your sorrows in cheap consumer goods and Netflix and stuff like that. Even though it can be still remarkably difficult to live in the imperial core itself, because it's expensive.
Sure. Yeah. But people really don't like when they feel like you're lecturing them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that I understand that, but I think it comes from like that chauvinistic American position of like, I should not be told that the way I live my life is a product of like immense global suffering. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. I think that my friends, when I talk to my friends about it, they understand that. And I'm not even asking them to make modifications to their behavior per se, but just to like, I don't know. I think that people take it. If you are getting upset, then maybe you should modify your behavior in any way that you might be able to. And I don't think that consumption behaviors or a modification of consumption behaviors is an adequate exercise of your political will. But I think that like if you're getting upset and you feel lectured to, then like that probably tells you something, right? Like it probably tells you like maybe I feel upset because I feel guilty, like a guilty party.
Yeah.
And that can lead to good places, I think. I think it can lead to you becoming a better global citizen.
Yeah. Yeah, I've just never been on the right side of history like in my life until very recently. But then it makes you go like, oh, I hope I'm not, annoying everybody.
Well,
but I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel better, most Americans are not ever on the right side. The most right side of history that Americans can be on is like, we should send only 2 bombs a month to Israel.
Right, because then they would have to really use them.
Yeah, exactly.
Efficiently.
They'd have to be they'd have to, they'd be very calculated about finding Hamas in that.
Well, they'd probably shoot them right at a baby.
Right. Directly at a baby, and then tell the New York Times to print the article, babies are joining Hamas at unprecedented rates.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you like a Hamas stan from the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
And people can look back on that from my October 7 tweets and everything. I love it. I always say we get. Oh no, go ahead.
No, it's just really funny because I remember like right after, because I did have a right before October 7th, I had a little Palestine banner on my rearview mirror that I just got like a car wash. But I took it down because I knew people were like very upset, and I was like, let me just take the heat off myself for a little bit. And then I was pretty slow. It took me a couple days to like start posting. Mm-hmm. I guess because I didn't want to. And then on October 7th this year, a friend of mine was like, I didn't see your post. And I was like, yeah, I know, because they're gonna be upset. So let me give them this one day,
Let me allow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
but I'm sure you understand. You probably had more of an understanding about it. Yeah.
Well, no. I think that at the time, number one, I love to say that like I am like not original at all, and a lot of the things that I talk about are just reiterations of things that smarter people than me, be they people who have written books or my own mutuals or whatever, or other people that I listen to in the left communist kind of media ecosystem.
I know, but that Mr. Feeney bit, that was pretty original.
That was pretty fire. Yeah, honestly.
We can go back to that too if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's called
we'll table that one. Mr. Feeney would have been pro-Hamas and
right.
pro-transgender children.
Right.
But yeah,
I think Mr. Matthews, they don't rape, they're Muslim.
Please, we need to put that on every network.
Okay.
We would have Hamas militants the United States over, because that's all it takes to change the cultural fabric. Mr. Feeney saying.
Right.
Exactly. But
Would that be funny? I'm going to go to a pitch meeting with that show.
Please.
Let's bring back Boy Meets World. But
that could be your gig.
Mr. Feeney is pro Hamas.
He's pro Hamas. He's pro trans. He's a communist. He's a PFLP member. I would love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
Yeah, he's pro Hamas and he tries to give Corey hormones. And you're just sitting across from like three guys named Josh.
Who's a bad guy in like Boy Meets World? Who's like a terrible character?
I don't know. I guess like Sean's parents are bad.
Okay, so they could be like, they would push you, Corey. They'd push you off or Sean. They'd push you off the roof for being trans.
Yeah,
that would be the refrain of their parents. This is a good show idea.
Yeah,
but I think
Mr. Feeney's like, Sean, you can come live with me for a little bit. Sean, I'm gonna get you out of that bad house.
Then they target. They're like, Israel strikes.
Sean, your Zionist parents have polluted your mind. You come live with me and take hormones and study the Quran.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think after
that must drive people insane, where they go like, oh, you guys who are pro Palestine and you're LGBT, that must make them so mad. But it's like, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
That's what we landed on.
Like as if like in the United States, not even 10 years ago, there wasn't like a massive shooting of a gay nightclub, and not that that's state sponsored, but like this idea that like you're uniquely in danger in occupied Palestine or in the Gaza Strip or wherever from like this
homophobes.
Yeah, is insane to me. Because I mean, in this very country, like you are not. I don't think that any person who's visibly, that'll probably get me in trouble because people are going to be mad at something, whatever, but like visibly, queer, they're in danger. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you are not in danger as a visibly queer person in this country at certain points, at different places, like even as a woman, I feel like in danger at like a random gas station or something. I'm like, oh no. I tweeted about that the other day. Some guy was waiting for me outside the gas station. And like that's, but people online love to be like, oh, if you were in Palestine, they'd kill you for whatever, having your titties out. And I'm like, first, like, it's so crazy that you think that that's like something confined to like the savage hordes in the periphery and literally over here in the United States where every president we've ever had is a rapist and a pedophile. But like it totally doesn't happen here. You're totally safe to like whatever. But yeah, so I think on October 7th, I was with the resistance from day one. I guess I understood it. I have like a framework where I understood it as like these are people who have been stuck in what is essentially a concentration camp. They're concentrated in a very small area with walls all around them. Okay. They have no airport. Their travel. I don't think a lot of people understand how severely movement was restricted and has been restricted in the Gaza Strip. Like, these are people who have to go through multiple checkpoints where it takes them hours. It can take them 3, 4, 5 hours to go, do a daily errand because of Israeli checkpoints. And so understanding that, I think if you put yourself in that position of like, if I'm living in this where I'm subjected to aerial bombardment, like indiscriminately, my children are being, in the March of Return, children, disabled people, journalists, medics were shot by Israeli snipers. There were videos that were released where they were pointing there was a video in, what's that really? Oh, I don't remember the name of it,
TikTok?
But I should. It's
Vine?
It's the Gaza something. It's a very like important film or documentary about
Born in Gaza?
It was not born. No, I watched that one. That one's really, really good. Like, good sounds horrible, but like it's very informative. There was another one that I can't. It was by Abby
Martin.
Yes. Do you know the name of that one?
No.
It's from like the Empire Files or whatever. Okay. But that one, they have a clip from an Israeli sniper who's aiming a gun at a 10-year-old's head, talking to his buddy. He's like, haha, I'm gonna shoot this kid in the head, and he picks one and shoots a fucking child in the head. And this was before, obviously, October 7th. They got the
footage of that? Yeah.
And it's like him talking, and it's horrible. It is horrible. You watch the kid go down, and this is a little kid, and this is the kind of life these people were living under this occupation. And they've been living it for 70 years. They've literally been like kettled like cattle and indiscriminately slaughtered. And so the day that happens, I'm like, yeah, this is the logical. How the fuck else do you expect them to like get out of this situation?
See, I missed that reaction to October 7th
What?
because I didn't have the knowledge before, really. Yeah.
What was your reaction? I'm curious.
I was like, this is going to be real bad. Yeah.
When it happened,
I got
like,
really, bummed me out.
But it's interesting. Well, not interesting. Sad. Like everyone knew, I think, immediately that Israel was going to use this event to galvanize support for like a genocidal extermination campaign against Palestinians that's already been underway for 70 plus years. But now we're in like this acute phase where they are just indiscriminately aerially bombarding Gaza and slaughtering hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, because that 40-something thousand number is
well, it's been that way for like, it's been that number for like what, 9 months? It feels like, you're almost a year. Yeah.
And there's no way. I mean, we see this almost daily like bombardment you're telling me that number hasn't, it doesn't, obviously. So there's people who argue, well, what Hamas did, caused this. But Israel has made no
distinction.
They've never halted the fact that this is an acute portion of their genocide does not mean that the genocide was not occurring before, does not mean that there would not be. They've always made excuses, whether it be like, oh, we were attacked or whatever, to slaughter Palestinians, because ultimately the goal of this campaign is to take the land take all of Palestine, right? Like take all of Palestine for Israeli settlers. That has always been the end goal of the settler colonial project in Palestine. So it did not matter if Hamas did or didn't attack. It was either a slowed, and I believe he has since passed, it's been almost a year, horrifically, Rifat al-Arir, that Palestinian poet, said we were either going to die slowly and like at the hands of Israel, or we were going to fight back and die with dignity. And I think that that's like something that a lot of people miss. It's like people say, well, if the Hamas didn't attack, this wouldn't have happened to all these people and they wouldn't all be dead. And it's like, they would be dead event. Like that's always been Israel's, explicitly stated goal, was to take this land and to expel, displace, however they need to do that, whether it's by killing them or by making it untenable to live there and trying to get them out. Israel was going to take that land and was going to slaughter or displace these Palestinians no matter what. What has happened since October 7th is that the world, it's kind of like, the mask has been pulled off. And we have never seen, I think it was remarkably unpopular, just 5 years ago, 2 years ago, to be very like pro-Palestine and particularly anti-Zionist, right? Like that was just not and it's still a punishable position in the United States. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of punishment.
Oh, yeah. You should see our numbers.
Yeah,
Patreon
exactly,
numbers.
Right?
You should see my road calendar this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's certainly still a punishable position in the United States, but it was not something you could even like publicly profess.
Right.
Saying fuck Israel
was
not a public sentiment that, you could espouse without like severe pushback, even from like relatively apolitical people who are kind of like brought up in the society where they're taught that like the Holocaust happened and we have to have this state for the Jews, and if you don't agree with that, you're anti-Semitic. And I think that has been unraveled since October 7th, and that the true barbarity of Israel has been broadcast to the world. And whatever people's opinions are about what has transpired from that point, we are in a totally different landscape now. And Israel, I like to say, is on its deathbed, because there's no coming back from like what has happened. It has lost so much support. We're seeing like, these UN investigations and, major political bodies in the world coming out against Israel in ways that was not fathomable 10 years ago, was not fathomable 2 years ago. This is a complete change in like the geopolitical dynamics, and that's never going to go back. And the United States has given its unwavering full faith and credit to the Israeli government, but even in our most like genocidal politicians have to pay some lip service to like, oh, we have to
self-determination or whatever.
And like the thing that Biden just said about he has 30 days to get, or Kamala 30 days to get the humanitarian aid in or whatever, which is they don't give a shit. But they have to even pay that lip service, because it is so apparent to even people who are softly Zionists, who don't think the problem is the settler colony, but like the governing body, the current administration in Israel. More and more people like are very they're disgusted by it. You know, it's hard to not be when you see blown up babies.
I know,
and
yeah,
shit.
it is a lot more visible, and I do think about that a lot though, like all this bloodshed, and you know, like you're right. The perception of Israel is very different than it was 10 years ago. But you know, you just think of like those people who lost kids and everything, and do they think that those deaths are like necessary, or do they wish that it worked out a little differently? And I guess it's the same thing with you know, people talk about like Nat Turner's rebellion, which led to John Brown, led to the Civil War, and so many people died. But it's like when you look at history, I guess my question is, do all those people really have to die? Yeah.
I think that at the end of the day, and this is something I like to say, is like the blood lies at the feet of Israel, and like what, again, like I said before, they would have died slowly, or they would have died, you know.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like and also, this situation was never going to resolve non-violently. I mean, Fanon talks about it in Wretched the Earth. It's like the first sentence of Wretched the Earth, which everyone was posting right after October 7th, was like, decolonization is always a violent affair. And no country has ever decolonized itself non-violently. These people, you know, it is horrific that this death is happening, but that's, you know, the Zionist entity was going to kill those Palestinian children. The median age or whatever in Gaza before, you know, October 7th was 18, because they're constantly, indiscriminately slaughtering these people. They are leaving them vulnerable to disease. Israel's calculations in their torture of these people that they keep confined in Gaza is like, they count the minimum amount of calories.
Yeah.
To like, that is the type of, you know, life that they're that they are allowing these people to live, because of the level of control they have over that area and the support that, you know, the global powers give them to do that, and the carte blanche they've given them to treat them like subhuman fucking animals at the end of the day. So like, there was never, whether this mass death happened after October 7th or after January 30th in 10 years, the mass death, Israel was always going to die like a fucking rabid dog, fighting everything it could before it dies. And I think that, you know, when I could never be like a chauvinistic American and be like, well, they should have just, you know, they tried to do peaceful protests, you know?
Yeah.
They had the March of Return, and they were fucking slaughtered, like fucking.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's horrible to see the way that Israel is mechanized warfare, and they just like look through a scope. And I don't know if you remember that video that went viral of them from like a military plane, and they were looking down at all the Gazans going for aid, and like
it's like the Flower Massacre or something.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, every day there's a new atrocity, but
so horrible.
Yeah.
But like, that's, you know, and they have, I mean, it's just like testament to the level of dehumanization that they feel. Like, I don't think people understand like how warped that Israeli psyche is, where they truly believe these are not human beings, like in the same way that they are a human being. And living like that is like no way to live. And I think that the hope that Palestinians have is that in resisting, and that one day their children can live with dignity.
Yeah.
Can, you know, because that life that they had, and that, you know, they have at this present moment is so fucking horrible, and it is so undignified. And I like to think that I would not want my children to live like that.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I would not want my own children to die, and I think that we can all, I don't have.
No, it just has to be such a tough thing to deal with, where it's like, okay, but like my kid died.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you go like, could there have been any scenario where it's like my kid that I love so much survived? You know?
No, and that's the, you know, whole awful part of it. But I think that they're living in a world where death, unfortunately, has become kind of part of life, if you know what I mean. Like, Israelis have subjected Gazans to constant death for the last 70 plus years.
So they're kind of like ready for it.
Yeah, I don't want to say like necessarily right, but like as in like it is
something they think about.
Right, yeah. It is something that we as Americans cannot even fucking fathom.
Yeah.
We don't have to deal with a world like that.
Right.
You know? I try to think of like, you know, when you know someone who grew up in a rougher neighborhood and they're like, oh, like you didn't I don't know, people in my family have grown up in rougher areas or whatever, and they'll often talk about like, well, you don't to you, like, life was just different. You know, they understand death differently. They understand pain, suffering, poverty, all these things differently. It is like part of their like cultural consciousness that's just not part of a lot of Americans.
Sure.
Cultural consciousness. We're like, we can't, that seems so just like the most foreign thing to us. Whereas to people in other parts of the world, it is unfortunately something that they've been made to deal with on a daily basis. That's just how life is for them.
Yeah.
You know?
So sad.
It is. It's really horrible. And we can only, you know, hope for a better world. And I think that that's not going to come from like people in the US, unfortunately. And I have nothing.
But I guess they do have an understanding of like a lot of people need to die, and then hopefully that'll lead to something.
Right.
Yeah. But it's just like so many fucking people need to die for change to happen. For big change like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to say like they need to die. It's like they're made to die.
They're made to die. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, like Israel's just going to make them, because the whole point too of making them suffer this bad is to try to like put it in their cultural consciousness of like, this is what happens if you remotely try to challenge us, is we will pursue a like endless extermination campaign against you. And they know, Palestinians know that they've always been part of this extermination and displacement campaign by the Zionist entity. But like this acute like level of slaughter and how like barbaric it is and how like never ending and every single day it is like purposeful punishment. It is, you know, people have used the term obviously, and it's a war crime, even though like when I say war crime, I don't think that the international community gives a fuck about what constitutes war crimes. But like it is a collective punishment to say like, don't try to resist because we will collectively punish you. We will do this. And that's their hope, is that by doing this, it will put into their cultural consciousness, like we have to just be, you know, quiet and die quietly, or we're gonna die really, really, really painfully. Which is a horrible, barbaric thing for them to be doing. But I think that is, you know, what Israel is trying to do, is trying to, you know, obviously exterminate these people because they want that land, but also to scare them, right? So like show them like we have this much power and no one the world over is gonna stop us. And that's, you know, that's at least in the Western world true. The Western world has sat back and let this happen, has provided the weapons, has provided the funds, has provided the you know, justifications by reiterating lies about what it is to be Palestinian, what Hamas did on October 7th, why Hamas did what it did on October 7th, what Palestinians are. They've gotten, you know, the powers that be to, and I don't want to say gotten, because Israel is not the one in control here, right? Like Israel is an American colonial outpost. So, you know, the United States in protecting its hegemony is, you know, they need Israel to continue to exist. Joe Biden said it in the Senate. I don't know if you've ever seen that video where he's like, if we didn't have an Israel, we would have to make an Israel. And
yeah, we'd have to get all our pedophiles.
put them somewhere in the Middle East. So we can keep extracting gas and natural resources from the Middle East.
Are we doing okay on time, by the way?
Yes, we are. Yeah, well, I can be. My train is at 7:50, and I'm 18 minutes. So yeah, we have some time.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess I'll put the pin on that. That I think that, and I hate to say I think that. I went to law school, and they always tell you don't say I think that. Say things very assertively.
That's ghetto, I think.
Yeah, I think exactly. That's the subtle implication there. But you know,
you ever see that video where the girl's like, "What's think? That's ghetto."
No.
Oh, really? I'll send it to you.
Please do.
Yeah.
I don't know why you just made me think of that video of that girl from Toronto where she's like, have you seen she's like, you left your mom in the hood?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to smoke that you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about that all the fucking time. But
That's a crazy accent.
dude, it's
You're like, how did
incredible.
that happen?
I would
Yeah.
love to know. And I actually
And they go like, buddy.
yeah, I met people from Toronto the other day, and they didn't really sound like that. So, but there must be like a subculture, like white person.
Maybe does it come from like French Canadians or something? That
I don't know,
accent?
but it also seems like it's like that particular girl. It's like a Toronto black scent, like which is totally a culture I'm unfamiliar with. But I do have Toronto mutuals. I'm thinking of one in particular, who I would love to hear from on that. What kind of subculture that even is? Because there's obviously that subculture in the United States where you have like the white people that put on a black scent.
Sure.
And there's different types of those white people. There's like the queer white people who do that, and then there's like the really homophobic white people who do that. And they're like, oh, I drove this kid home from work once, and he was like in the car talking to me. He's like, yeah, this used to be my hood, and he was like from like the most like white suburb in Connecticut ever. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, your fucking hood over there at the Target.
Nice.
It was a crazy time.
I do have to ask you, since we're getting a little short on time, one of your more controversial takes. You've said in the past that sex work, guys who pay for sex, and you have a lot of takes where I go, man, if you like free speech, you have to support Suki's mom.
Thank you.
You can't say you love free speech and be against Suki's
I'm
mom.
saying.
Yeah, but you've said, and actually, I've never done this, but you've said that guys who pay for sex are rapists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You still stand by that?
Yes. So consent cannot be bought. And I think that like people, first of all, there's this like, especially in like the Twitter ecosystem where your experience with women who are in the sex trade is primarily through like labor aristocrats. And what that means is like they're at the upper echelons of the masses of primarily women who are in the sex trade. So these are women who are who represent like a bourgeoisie, if you will, of the sex trade, where, and I don't mean about their relation to the means of production, but I mean in a sense of like they make hand over fist money, versus the literal 99% of women who are struggling to survive, who are in the sex trade because they've been literally dispossessed of any other option. And those are primarily like racialized, colonized women who, you know, don't have an option but to sell, you know, because they cannot participate in the traditional labor market for whatever reason.
Or that's like Johnny when he was on OnlyFans for like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
They said you're in the bottom.
You're the bottom echelon. You're making 100. And that's the thing. A lot of people.
You're
I
in the
think
bottom 99%. And then he quit.
And he quit.
And I was like, you should have stuck with it.
Yeah, he could have gotten up to the top 1%, like every, you know, apparent third person. Everyone seems to think that everyone on OnlyFans is making hand over fist money. But the vast majority of those people, right, are not making a lot of money. And like, if you have, I like to explain it like, if you were not going to have sex with that person, but you, like, we understand, I think we've expanded our idea of a consent in like after the Me Too movement, where it became consent is like an enthusiastic yes. And if you have to say like, if someone's saying no to sex until you offer something, like that is not freely given. Like you're not freely giving yourself. People should have sex because they want to, because they, you know, they desire to, independent of
Now, does
any-
this get people upset?
Oh, absolutely. Because they like, you know, there's this
Just like the fattest guy. Being
yeah,
like,
he's
excuse
like,
me.
Fuck you. You fucking, and they love to call you like sex worker phobic. And which is insane because, as you know, someone who has known a lot of people in the sex trade, like, and because my dad's watching this, I'm not going to say much else, but like, you don't, like, it's unfathomable to me that people can see it and not see, like, and you know, that these are like people who have been pushed to like the bottom of the economic ladder and are forced like to either starve or let someone fuck them. You know what I mean? And like I know a lot of people in the sex trade, not just from online, but from real life, who did not want to be in that position at all, and like don't enjoy. And like it's not even about your subjective personal experience with it, but the point being that, like, you are doing it because otherwise you won't have food in your mouth and a roof over your head. And that should not be the reason that you have sex, is because, like, if I don't fuck someone tonight, I'm going to go to bed hungry. And imagine you were dangling food over someone's head and you're like, can't eat unless you fuck me.
Right.
You can't, you would understand that to be like rape. So it's the exact same thing except with dollar bills instead of like literal food. It's you. Yeah.
But if you do it with somebody who like makes a lot of money, is it not as bad, or is it still bad?
I think that those people like occupy a particular position as like labor aristocrats in the sex trade, where they themselves become like ambassadors for often. You see those girls who are like, if you'd use my code like for OnlyFans, then I'll help you, whatever. So they're like themselves kind of pimps and profiteers, which puts them in this interesting position where they both occupy the position of like victim at the end of the day, whether or not they think they are. Like, you are a victim of capitalism and you've been made to be put in this position because of capitalism, but you are simultaneously like profiting from it and oftentimes like pimping other women out, or at least defending this industry that exists, and primarily pulls from the reserves of like impoverished colonized women the world over. So in terms of like how much money you make, does it matter? I think that those women are culpable, but also, victims. And still, like, yeah, you're like, I don't know how as a man you don't, or it is mostly men buying sex. You don't feel fucking weird that this person's only fucking you.
Yeah, I mean, I've never done it, so I have no idea.
Thank you for clarifying. But yeah, I don't know how you don't feel fucking crazy. Like, I would never, to be like, oh, like, and like I've seen like Reddit posts, like really disgusting.
Yeah, like how does Bill Maher not feel weird about all the,
yeah. Well, how does he not feel weird about the fucking volufoline fucking his face up? Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, he looks puffed up.
He's like, I have $42. Okay. I'm trying to do it, Bill. I'm trying to do it on the spot.
You could have fooled me because I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I don't
You've
even
never
know
heard
what
him
he sound-
talk? Oh, okay.
I have, but it's like memory blocked. I know what he looks like. I hear him talk, but it's really,
Yeah.
He's got the weird slick back widow's peak. Not a good look. And he's got the volufoline face.
Yeah.
Do you know what volufoline is?
No.
It's like a topical. It's supposed to be a topical alternative to filler. You can buy it on Amazon for $21. I wonder if it would work on like. If it would work on your penis or something, because they use it for breast enlargement. You can put it on your boobs and it allegedly, according to their own studies, will increase your breast size by up to 8%. So he's got volufoline face in that when you put it on
I
your
have to check
face,
with my wife before I put anything on my penis.
Yeah, you have to ask first.
Yeah.
Imagine it just like starts like expanding
And it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was listening to
I have to call
dermatologists
911.
and explain that on the phone.
Yeah.
My dick is
Oh, my dick's too big. They're like,
briefly
Sarah,
tell me."
call when you have a real problem. Sir, you're taking advantage of the 911 line.
The 911 officer like,
You again. This
She
guy
comes
again
knocking
is
on the door.
here to brag about his dick.
Suddenly, every 911 dispatcher's at your house.
Yeah.
They just want to see what's going on.
They just want to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to know.
Right. They come by. I think we got to get you out of here.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm a dad, so I'm like, we got to be on time. You
Yeah.
got to catch your train.
But
It's 20 after.
thank you
So
so
you
much.
want like at least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Johnny and I we were in Europe together.
Ooh.
And we missed a goddamn train. We missed the train from Barcelona to Madrid, which happens. But
don't they?
I was
the
so
trains run
pissed.
All the time there?
Yes, but we got like specific tickets.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah, so I saw him go into the office, and he's like, he was like all flat.
Tú no puedes
He's like,
hablar español.
yeah, all exacerbated. And he's like,
Because
and I'm like, what's the
that's
bad news?
Interesting. I didn't know that they.
We missed a goddamn train.
Because like if
And we
buy a
almost
train
missed
ticket-
we almost missed a flight.
That sucks.
Yeah,
I've never been overseas. I feel
it's
like
hard traveling with people
Yeah. Oh God, I've never.
when you don't
done
know
it.
their style.
Well, I've never traveled. My boyfriend's undocumented, so we can't leave the country.
Oh,
So I've never been. I've been with him since I was like 20 years old. So
Interesting.
I've never left the country, so I think I would be in a bad position leaving the country. I would not know what to do, where to go. I'd get lost. probably abducted.
Yeah.
I have the typical suburban white woman psychosis that like I'm going to be the
Sure.
victim of like a Liam Neeson
true
film,
crime thing.
at Target.
Yeah.
They're getting me. That guy was looking at me for too long.
Right.
And
Yeah, they
he's
put
the sex
envelopes on your car, right?
Everybody, like, there's like a bit of trash.
My
on the
father-in-law's
cross.
always sending videos like that. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just if someone hands you an envelope, don't take it.
It's just a Jehovah's Witness, but I'm being
Yeah.
fucking sex trafficked, actually.
Yeah. All right. You're not missing this train.
Thanks.
You want to plug anything before we go? I wish we could do more time, but
I know,
you know,
yeah,
come
we'll have
back on
fun.
anytime you want.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Just don't follow me on Twitter
Oh, okay.
unless you're like really funny and cool. And then
Okay.
you can follow me at Zuko's Madre. My thing is Suki's mom. I've had a couple. I have had a couple accounts from back when before Elon Musk was protecting free speech on Twitter. I had to make new accounts because I kept getting suspended for my righteousness. But now I'm on Zuko's Madre.
Nice.
So.
All right, let's get her a car out of here and let's get a photo, and we got to call it an episode. That's the episode. Patreon.com/outforsmokes. The boys will be back very soon, and we'll see you guys next week or on Patreon. Bye-bye.